What's going on, guys, and welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckled Salamander, here to bring you my full card quick pick video for UFC St. Louis. But before we get into this week's video, make sure, as always, you are going to WeWantPicks.com and consider becoming a premium member today. Angelo fucking killed it last week. There's no doubt about that. $10 a month is all it costs. You get access to a whole bunch of shit. $10 a month means that this week I only got $2.50. I don't know why you're not signing up. WeWantPicks.com. Check it out. $10 a month. Let's get right into the action. But before we do, hey, like the video. Subscribe if you are new. Let's get into a quick pick for UFC St. Louis. And let me just preference this card too real quick by saying I think this is going to be a good card. I think this is going to be an entertaining card. I should be streaming this Saturday for the card. Looking forward to it. But I'm saying right now, this card for betting, woo, for breakdowns, woo, this is going to be wishy-washy. A lot of these breakdowns, I'll be honest with you, they're going to be wishy-washy. But I got to give you the truth. I got to give you the fights how I see the fights. This is the first time. If you guys don't know, Sundays, I spend all day Sundays watching film. Every single fighter, just watching film to make my picks, to make my bets. Sunday was the first time, I think, ever that I finished watching film. I made my picks for all these fights. No bets. I have 0 bets on the board right now. I'm going to make some, right? I got to look a little bit more into it, but this might be my least bet card of the year. There's no doubt about that. There's no problem with staying away from cards from betting. This could be it. I think it's going to be entertaining, but they did a great job with matchups for this card. There's a lot of close fights. I'll break it down for you. Let's get started. JJ Aldrich versus Veronica Hardy, and this one, quite simply to me, is going to be an activity fight. And this is going to be very interesting, in my opinion, on how the judges are going to score the rest of the card. There's a few fights in here where there could be some interesting scoring. And this one, the reason I say that is because JJ, in my mind, to win this fight, is going to need a lot of clinch positions and a lot of just holding Veronica either against the cage or on the ground. Veronica moves around beautifully, right? She's left, she's right, she's in and out. I think she's going to be the more active, dynamic striker, and she's even strong enough to get out of these clinch positions. She's a little bit undersized for 125, but she's a strong girl. I think activity's going to win the fight, but if JJ's just holding her against the fence, if she's just holding her on the ground, we'll see how the judges are scoring that fight. I am going to go Veronica because I believe she's going to be the more active fighter. It should be mostly striking. JJ's a little bit more flat-footed, a little bit more plotting as she strikes. She's definitely a good fighter, a decent fighter. I'm going Veronica here. It's going to be close. We'll see how the judges score this fight. If there's not a finish, I'm going Veronica. Let's move on to the next one. Gooden versus Kevin Jousset, and this one should be pretty cut and dry. You think, right? Kevin Jousset should be the better striker. This is almost the same fight that he just had against a powerful striker that's a little bit low volume. Jared is actually probably an easier guy to hit. Hands low. You saw Wellington lighten this dude up, right? But then what happened? Wellington got a little over aggressive, got stung a little bit, and Jared was able to finish that fight. What'd you see in Kevin's last fight, right? He's pumping the jab out, pumping the jab. He's a little bit flat-footed. In my mind, when I watch Kevin, I try to fade Kevin early. I'm like, this guy just stands straight up and down. He gets hit a lot. He doesn't seem athletic. He's known for his judo, but he doesn't use his judo. And then in his last fight, what happened? He was pumping the jab, got lit up a little bit, got clipped a little bit. If this happens again versus Jared Gooden, not going to be a good situation. Kevin should win this fight. He's the better striker. But with his flat-footed style, standing in front of Jared Gooden, just pumping out a jab, he leaves himself exposed. He does get hit. This is one of those fights where I'm like, Kevin should win. He honestly should dominate, but there's a little pause. I saw him get hit in his last fight. I know Jared can hit hard. The night train coming in. I'm taking Kevin. But like I said before this fight, you would think this would be an easy bet on Kevin. I'm not sure. I'm taking Kevin. Let's move on to the next one. Jake Hadley versus Charles Johnson. And finally, Charles Johnson has a guy that's not going to be diving at his legs 24/7, 365. What has it been? 6 or 7 fights in a row. They keep giving him these grapplers, these wrestlers. And Jake Hadley has wrestling. He has grappling. He might shoot a takedown or two on Charles, but Charles is so hard to take down. I imagine we're finally going to get a striking match between Charles Johnson and Jake Hadley. And what's going to happen here probably is Charles is going to come in and shoot takedowns. I honestly think that this could be the fight of the night. I think these boys get after it. This Charles is going to be in his face. Jake is going to be throwing back. And honestly, from what I've seen in the fights in the past, I think I'm going Charles Johnson. I believe that this is going to be back and forth, first round, second round, and I think Charles Johnson comes out in the third round in a 1-1 fight and steals that third round just like he did in his last fight. This guy is tenacious. He's going to love not being exhausted in the second and the third rounds, having to fend all these takedowns. I'm taking Charles Johnson. I think it's going to be a close fight. It's going to be a back and forth fight. Could be fight of the night. But I'm going with the dog here and Charles Johnson. Let's move on to the next one. Trey Waters versus Billy Goff. And this one should be very interesting because Trey Waters is a big, rangy, long guy. Pumps out the jab. Not super dangerous. You would think this guy was 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", much like me, would come into the 170 division and really be putting people away. He looks like he should put people away, but he's not real dangerous. And that's important here because Billy Goff is a guy that's tough as shit, man. Former lock of the week. This guy is a junkyard dog. Will get hit. Could get hurt early. But a guy in Trey Waters that's not really a powerful guy, I think that favors a guy like Billy Goff. Billy Goff needs to make this into a dirty fight. He's got to bring the pressure early. You saw Keeneland not really bring the pressure. Fought the Trey Waters fight. And even in that fight, you saw Trey Waters, in my mind, in my eyes, seemed to start slowing down. And that was a very Trey Waters fight. He was able to stay at range, pump out the jab, land a 1 or 2, didn't really have any adversity, defended a couple takedowns. Billy Goff has wrestling, but Trey Waters is such a tough guy to take down. He's got good takedown offense, and he's so big. But I think if Billy Goff comes from the opening bell and puts a pace on this guy, gets inside the pocket, push him all the way against the fence, work those body shots that you know how to work, take away that jab. If you take away the jab from Trey Waters, he just, in my mind, becomes another dude. He's not in the pocket boxing. He doesn't have those type of skills. He wants to keep it range. He wants to touch it range. Let's get in the pocket. Let's push a pace on this guy. Let's turn into an absolute animal, Billy Goff. He is going to be my pick, the junkyard dog, Billy Goff, to make this dirty, to get the finish. But if this is outside, if he tries to fight like Josh fought Trey, he's going to be in trouble. He's going to get touched up. But I think Billy weathers a little bit of the early storm and makes this fight dirty. Let's move on to the next one. Tabatha Ricci versus Tecia Torres. Actually, Tecia Pennington, married to Raquel, just had a kid. They just had a kid. Congratulations to them. Tecia coming back. This fight, in my mind, is going to go one of two ways. Either Tabatha Ricci is getting a takedown or two and able to control Tecia and do that whole thing, and she's going to look like a minus 200, minus 300 favorite, or she is not going to get the takedowns, and this is going to be a fucking barn burner, a back and forth fight, because both these girls fight pretty similar, right? They're exploding with a number of combinations, not real powerful, and they're not real technical, but they're just moving forward, pop, 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 and then they step back, and they move up, pop, 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 and then they step back. I think the striking here is basically 50-50, but I have to go. I was gonna say I have to side on the side. I have to go with Tabatha Ricci because she does have that wrestling pedigree as well. I think she's going to be able to get those takedowns. And Tecia Torres is a girl that almost made Mackenzie Dern. And Mackenzie has kind of regressed since that fight. But in that fight, Mackenzie was landing some good shots. Mackenzie looked like she knew what she was doing in the striking. I think Tabatha Ricci is improving every fight in the striking. I think she's going to land more against Tecia, mix in a takedown or two. I know that Mackenzie wasn't able to get her down, but was able to get her in some interesting positions. Tabatha's a strong girl. She works hard. She's going to be in there. There's a little bit of layoff issue for Tecia. I'm going Tabatha Ricci here. Let's move on to the next one. It's McKinney versus Esteban Ribovics. And this one's interesting, right? You got Esteban Ribovics, what, minus 170? Minus 180. I like Esteban. Let's not get this twisted here, people. I'm a big fan of Esteban. Weather storms early. Got those nice Kimura sweeps. Really strong boxing and striking late second, third rounds. Can really kind of put people away. But what I say in the beginning of this, weathers the storm early. He does kind of struggle in those first rounds where they're picking up the range, picking up the timing, defending those takedowns. And what's Terrance McKinney? Terrance McKinney's a fucking animal in that first round. He's an animal in that first round. He is going to come forward. I believe he is going to land those shots. To me, if you want to lay minus 200 money on Esteban, it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, in my mind, I saw people talking about Esteban, and I don't look at the odds until I break down the fights. I broke down this fight, and I thought to myself, oh, people like Esteban because he's a dog and he's a tough dude and he can come back and he can beat Terrance. I get that. If he was plus money, I'd be all over him. All over him. Minus 170, minus 180, where he's going to have to weather this storm. I mean, Terrance is going to be coming, and he's going to be coming, and he's going to be coming. And he's got some takedowns. He's got some grappling. I just don't think that Esteban's going to weather that storm early. So this is obviously one of those plays where it's like, play Terrance in the first, Esteban later, however you want to play it. I'm taking Terrance and McKinney because I think that Esteban just gets steamrolled a little bit too much, too early in fights. He gets hit, he gets taken down, and that's exactly what Terrance wants to do. So I'm going T-Rec here. I know it's not a popular pick. People love Esteban here, but let me know in the comments below if you like Esteban or T-Rec. I'm going T-Rec. Let's move on to the next one. Hooper versus Slava, and this one definitely is going to look, I mean, it's a close fight. Odds are close. I want to say it's a close fight. It's not a close fight. The odds are close, but somebody is going to look like a massive favorite. Somebody is going to get a finish in this fight. It should be Slava, right? Should be Slava. Every fight starts on the feet. He's got a major striking advantage. Very dangerous with his hands, with his kicks. Chase, you've seen, gets hit, they done. He gets knocked out, he gets lit up, and on the ground, if he's getting hit, he turns into one of those jiu-jitsu guard pulling nerds. But early on in fights, Chase now at 155, now coming into this grown man body. In my mind, it's going to take one scramble. One scramble. One scramble, that's all it's going to take. If Chase can get his hands on Slava, Slava is a very easy guy to take down. You don't have to be a dominant wrestler. You can do those weird Chase Hooper things. You can just kind of grab him and drag him. And if he drags him down to the ground at all, I believe in those scrambles, Chase is not going to let him go, and Slava is in big trouble. He can get back to his feet. He's got submission defense. That's all he's been working on because he's such a dynamic striker, right? And if Slava's able to keep at distance, he can definitely light up Chase and put him away. There's no doubt about that. But I think Chase Toughness is going to walk through, maybe even just fucking run across. If I'm Chase Hooper, I'm just blitzing across the cage, getting right in his face, just grabbing him, bringing him to the ground. And if it's on the ground, Chase is going to get this done. Chase Hooper is my pick because I think there will be an initiation of the grappling, of the scrambling, and he is not going to let Slava go. This dude is very good on the ground. Very, very good on the ground, especially from keeping positions. He will just stay on you and keep and just scramble and scramble, roll through. I hope that he doesn't chase leg locks too much because a lot of times with leg locks, you can kind of get out of those and get back to your feet. Then you have to retake somebody down. Let's go with more jiu-jitsu, wrestling control Chase if you get him to the ground. But I am going Chase Hooper. Let's move on. Waldo versus Robelis. And in my mind, when this was first announced, I know that they're trying to steamroll this guy, Robelis, to the fucking top. Fast track him, right? They booked him right after his last fight, and they gave him, in my mind, the most winnable fight at heavyweight. Waldo's a tough dude. No doubt about that. You saw him just eating leg kicks, doesn't give a fuck. Gets punched in the face, doesn't give a fuck. Not a crazy, dangerous guy. Right? You would think this guy, Waldo, former Major League Baseball, got that big right hand. He can definitely put people away. Anybody at heavyweight can put people away. But he goes through decisions a lot, right? He will just kind of land. He will plot. He is not a overly dynamic striker. Just strictly a pure boxer. Just a pure boxer, basically, with almost just kind of only a right hand. Yeah, this seems like it sets up perfect for Robelis. A guy that's a little bit stationary, isn't going to mix into takedowns, can get hit. Robelis should be able to come through and just hit this guy. And if he hits him, he's putting everybody away. It seems as easy as that. Now, obviously, if this lasts more than a minute, people that are bet on Robelis are going to be a little bit panicky, right? There's always going to be those question marks until we see what happens out of the first round. But a guy like Waldo, who is tough, in my mind, he's just a little bit too stationary. Doesn't have the return fire to get Robelis off of him early in the fight. I think Robelis is going to come through, hit this guy, and do what he does that he's been doing to everyone else. So I'm going Robelis here. Let's move on to the next one. Alex Caceres versus Sean Woodson. Jesus, Sean, look at this guy. Alex Caceres versus Sean Woodson. This is not one of those fights where it should be pretty cut and dry. It should be pretty cut and dry. This should be a mostly striking matchup, and Sean Woodson should be the better striker. Really good boxer. Tall guy, hard guy to take down. Alex doesn't really have wrestling. He will engage in the grappling, and if he gets you in a clinch position, he will do those wild things, just kind of climb on your back. That's a big tree to climb if you are Alex Caceres against Sean Woodson. But I will say, my pick's going to be Sean Woodson. Should be pretty easy, right? I mean, he's a better boxer. Should be able to box this guy, keep his range. Alex isn't anything crazy, but I think Alex is more live than people think. Because if you come in against Sean Woodson and you stand in front of him and you try to just outbox him, right? And you're just a technical striker that's going to stand in front of him and try to outbox Sean Woodson, you're probably going to lose, right? You need to be a little bit different. You need to have different angles. You need to see or give him looks that he's not normally seeing. And honestly, Alex Caceres is that guy. I mean, he is that guy. He is that just crazy guy that will throw the wild kicks, the wild shit from different angles, the ninja type stuff. So there is an outside chance that Alex Caceres comes in and that type of style kind of throws off Sean Woodson. Sean Woodson can't just pump out that jab and punch somebody that's standing right in front of him, because Alex Caceres is going to be, he's going to be left, he's going to be right, a little Michelle Peheda-like. But I think Sean Woodson is just going to be able to land too much, too soon, and late, and he's going to win this fight. Alex is probably a little bit more live than people think. If there's some grappling involved, we'll see what happens. Sean has shown some improved takedown defense, even some takedowns of his own. But I got to go Sean Woodson here. Let's move on to the next one. Diego versus Rębecki, and this one should also be pretty cut and dry. And this one I feel the most confident on the card. We'll see how this plays out. We'll see if this is a bad take or whatever. But Rębecki is just a guy that he just gets in your face, man. And I know Diego came in off the long layoff against Michael Johnson and slept that guy, but I didn't see anything in that fight that tells me that he's like this dynamic, improved fighter on that layoff. He was a little bit sloppy with the striking, a little bit wide with his shots, and if you get a little bit too aggressive against Rębecki, he's just going to take you down. But the issue is, with Rębecki, he doesn't even allow you to try to get aggressive or push a pace on him. From the opening bell, he is in your face, good boxing, good head movement, throws strikes, but he throws strikes to get to the takedowns, and the wrestling is where he absolutely excels. So we'll see if Ferreira can come in and use his jiu-jitsu and I don't know, you know, if he can use his defensive jiu-jitsu or maybe find a guillotine or something like that. But Rębecki is just so good, 19-1, good boxing, good power, can eat a shot as well, has the takedowns. I think the takedowns are going to be easy, the control is going to be easy, and he can definitely win this fight easily. He is going to be my most confident pick. We'll see how it plays out. I'm going Rębecki. Let's move on to the next one. Alonzo Menifield versus Carlos Ulberg, and this one should be interesting. I'm not an Alonzo Menifield guy. He can win this fight. He's with Pat Barry. I mean, anybody that takes 5 rounds to beat Jimmy fucking Crute is not a good fighter or a good game planner, in my opinion. Hey, if you're fighting Jimmy Crute, walk in there, walk right in front of him, and just punch him square in the face, and you're going to win the fight. It took 5 rounds for Alonzo Menifield to realize that he was like wrestling Jimmy Crute for whatever reason. Now, with that said, he should bring that game plan into this Carlos Ulberg fight, because Ulberg is going to be the better striker. The way you beat Ulberg is you have to beat him with pace, probably with wrestling as well. And Alonzo can do that, but typically Alonzo wants to wait and sit back as well. He'll mix in some takedowns. He does have some power, right? You saw it against Dustin Jacoby, and that's probably what this fight is going to look like. The Dustin Jacoby was just touch up, pretty much dominating that fight. And then one shot came, changed everything in the second round. And then the third round, Dustin, back to the volume, touching him up, lighting him up, boom. Another shot, Alonzo ends up winning that fight. I don't believe that those shots are going to be able to find themselves against a guy like Ulberg. He keeps range a little bit better than Dustin. He will kind of just, he's not going to be in your face as much as Dustin. Dustin got caught being a little bit too aggressive, a little bit over the top. I think Ulberg comes in, keeps that range, and just picks this guy apart. I think Alonzo's going to try to wrestle. I don't know if it's going to work. And if he starts getting touched up, those big shots, he's going to get desperate with them. And Ulberg should be able to counter off those big shots. Ulberg's patient, man. He's going to touch. He's going to touch. He's going to bring those big shots out of Alonzo. And then he's going to counter off them. Ulberg showed in his last fight. Now he can go at least 3 rounds. He was starting to slow down a little bit in that third round, but he was moving off his back foot pretty much that entire fight. I don't see Alonzo bringing in crazy pace or pressure, so I am going Carlos here. Let's move on to the next one. Co-main event time. We got Joaquin Buckley. Get Buck in here versus Nursultan Ruziboyev. And I'll be honest, this seems like a, when you see Ruziboyev, all this experience, you see all those highlights, you just saw him smoke Esti Dumas, and you see him at plus 140, plus 150, whatever it is, I get it. The second I saw that, I'm like, oh, I'm going to hammer this, right? Because I've been a Buckley hater. No doubt about that. I like him as a person. He's a fun guy. He's an entertaining fighter. He came through and just smoked the dude in his last fight. But I just don't think Buckley's that good. Like, as far as a technical, he's an athlete. And he's strong, and he's powerful, and he is durable, and he's a tough dude. He will come in and do the wild shit. If he lands on Ruziboyev, he can probably put this guy out. Another caveat here. This fight is at 170. Ruziboyev has fought at 185. He's fought, I think, all the way down to 155, at 170 as well. He has 8 losses. From what I can tell, I believe 7 of those 8 losses are at 170. I don't know if 170 is a class for him. I believe that Buckley is going to come in, push the pace, push the pressure. But with all that said, Ruziboyev showed he is so good at counter-striking off the big actions. SD, every time he was kind of loading up on some big action, boom, he was making reads early with that uppercut, with that right hand. I think he has the opportunity to do the same thing versus Buckley. Buckley will kind of blitz in, and when you're blitzing in against a counter-striker, especially a big, long, powerful dude like Ruziboyev, it could be issues. What I don't want Ruziboyev doing is, if Buckley initiates the wrestling, the grappling, is to play that guard game. I know that you have this good grappling and this good guard game. You have arm bars, you have triangles, all this stuff, but that's regional bullshit. Right? A lot of that stuff doesn't fucking work when you come to the UFC, especially against Buckley, who is also a 185er originally coming down. He is going to be a strong dude. I don't think that bullshit is going to work. Ruziboyev, you got to sit back, wait for Buckley to push the pressure because he will. Wait for those counter strikes. I'm going to take Ruziboyev here, but even at the plus 150, plus 140, whatever it is, I still haven't bet it because I'm just looking at it like, man, 170 Ruziboyev, we haven't really seen that. Got a lot of losses there. Buckley's a tough dude, hometown kid, wanted this spot, called for this spot. He wanted the main event, but he's got the co-main now. It's hard to, I can pick against Buckley still, but I'll be damned. It is hard to bet against Buckley these days. I haven't bet it yet, but Ruziboyev is going to be my pick. Let's move on to the main event. Main event time, we got Derek Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento. It's actually Nascimento, I don't know why I say Nascimento. Nascimento. And this one it's a Derek Lewis fight, right? It should be fun, I guess. I always hate heavyweight fights in general. If you guys hear me on the streams, on everything, I cannot stand heavyweight fights. They're sloppy, they're unpredictable. If you want to bet either one of these guys, God bless you for it. We'll put some action on the live stream Saturday. Here's what I'll say about Derek Lewis. He rarely loses to people that are kind of volume-esque strikers, right? I mean, Cyril Gane was the only person really that's not like a really powerful striker or a wrestler, obviously, to beat a guy like Derek Lewis lately. He seems to smoke every single person that comes in that just wants to just box without power. You have to match the power of Derek Lewis, beat him with the power, or have the wrestling to beat Derek Lewis. If you just stand in front of him and just touch. Derek Lewis doesn't give a fuck about that. Okay, here, oh, jabby, oh, jabby, oh, there's a right hand, oh, okay, keep going, keep doing it, right? You saw that with Volkov. Volkov is a very high-level striker. Touch, beating up Derek Lewis, having the fight of his life. Thought he was going to get out there with a nice win bonus, and then boom, done, out of here. Sayonara, ciao, adios amigo. I think the same thing happens here. Rodrigo's going to come in, not mix in a takedown or two, right? He's just going to come in, he's going to be moving forward, he's going to touch, he's going to have Derek Lewis against the fence, and then explosion, boom, Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, is going to get it done again. That's my pick, that's my prediction, but it's heavyweight, so we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, this card, I think, is going to be a mess for a lot of people. This is going to be my least bet card of the year. Should be fun. There's some good matchups. Should be a fun fight. We'll sit here Saturday and watch it together. But as far as betting goes, whoo! We'll see how it plays out. Maybe look for some props, some round lines, something like that. Everything that I place, everything Angelo plays, everything is going to be on the website, we1picks.com. Only $10 a month. Thanks for watching, guys. My name is Jacob. Like the video. Subscribe if you are new, and I'm out. Peace.